Chapter 471, Klein's Preparations. Chica. The goosebumps on Klein's skin surfaced uncontrollably as he looked at the beautiful young lady with her misty eyes and furrowed eyebrows. The goosebumps were distinct and were accompanied with cold sweat. At this moment, he felt as if he had returned to Tingen, back to the Blackthorn Security Company, and was about to activate his spirit vision to observe Megos and the baby in her womb. The fear that resulted from his instinct was so clear that it felt like a giant hand tightly gripping onto his heart. He finally understood that the thing interfering with the gray fog and his divinations wasn't a grade 0 sealed artifact or a mystical item of the same level. There was something even more terrifying hidden within Trissy's body. The symbol of the apocalypse, the primordial demoness. No, she isn't the primordial demoness yet. Otherwise, I would have already lost control just by being together with her, turning into a pile of squirming rotten meat. She's in a very strange state. Trissy's brows eased as her eyes regained their focus. As she looked at Klein, who didn't dare to move at all, she gently lifted her right hand, allowing her slender white finger to slowly slide down from the side of her body. With a bit of grievance, seduction, and malice, she laughed and said, "If you can inform the Nighthawks, the mandated punishers, and the machinery hive mind about this matter, and I happen to meet you before they arrest me, I don't mind letting you know what true pleasure is." Klein's gaze subconsciously followed the movement of her fingers, and all sorts of mind-blowing details surfaced in his mind. They aren't considered big, but they are very firm. What am I thinking? What am I looking at? Is this the seductive powers of a demoness of pleasure? Ignoring the fact that you were once a man, even if you were a true lady, without having committed many heinous crimes in the past to lessen the psychological rejection I have, I wouldn't dare to. If you were to suddenly awaken as the primordial demoness, even the fool can't handle that. Klein silently sighed, raised his head, looked at the carriage's wooden roof, and said, "Do you think that I, an ordinary low or mid-sequence beyonder, would have the ability to escape the pursuit of the royal family? I think they've already discovered that something is wrong and they're about to take action." Trissy felt somewhat smug that Klein didn't dare to look straight at her. She chuckled softly and said, "I'll try to escape and divert the main pursuing force. Although the remaining ones are still very powerful, it's not impossible to deal with them. I believe that you will fight with all your might for the sake of your own life. You have great hope." With that, her figure quickly disappeared, as if someone had wiped it away with a rag. This was different from Sharon, as it wasn't a return to a normal wraith state, but a direct form of invisibility. Bam! The carriage door opened and then closed. The sweet fragrance that remained drilled into his nose, and Klein retracted his gaze, his face sinking. Even now, his arms were still trembling slightly, as if he had contracted some disease. If it wasn't for his rich experience, even though he had faced the son of an evil god in the real world with a belly in between them, he, who knew what the name, Trissy Cheek, meant, wouldn't have been able to bear the terrifying pressure and would have collapsed on the spot. It was akin to having a rubber band stretched too tightly to the point of tearing. It seems like Trissy still doesn't know what's happening to her body. She also doesn't know the meaning behind the name Cheek. Klein quickly calmed his thoughts, looked out the window, estimated the distance, and counted the time. His spiritual intuition and corresponding experience told him that doing anything in such a situation was better than nothing. Therefore, with the danger of being silenced at hand, he was prepared to try his best to save himself. 3, 2, 1. Klein suddenly opened his eyes and snapped his fingers. At the edge of the road, a small fire ignited on a tree with only withered branches left. The flames quickly soared into the sky. Several matches inside his pocket, that Klein had intentionally divided up, burst into flames, and a crimson color engulfed his black attire. His figure disappeared from the interior of the carriage, and he walked out from the flames by the roadside. Pa, pa, pa. He kept snapping the fingers on his left hand repeatedly, his figure constantly flashing through the sparse, withered forest. He rode the flames and rapidly arrived deep in the forest, which couldn't be seen from the outside. Then he paused and pulled out the accessory hanging around his neck. He always knew very clearly that there were hidden elements behind this matter. Therefore, for his visit to Red Rose Manor, he abided by the principles of a magician. He had made some preparations beforehand, such as separating his matches and carrying a number of his mystical items on him. Among the mystical items, the biological poison bottle and the sun brooch were involved in the Capim and Wraith incidents. Therefore, out of caution, he left them above the gray fog. As for the all-black eye which was left behind by Mariontis Trisego, it was difficult to get past the manor guards. Hence, it was met with the same treatment. Finally, other than the 3 kinds of bullets, purifying bullets, demon-hunting bullets, and exorcism bullets of purification, he only brought along 2 mystical items. The first was the master key that allowed him to pass through obstacles. The side effects of getting lost could be offset by dowsing. Furthermore, it looked like an ordinary key, so it wasn't easily discovered. The other item was a key element of Klein's preparations, Azic's copper whistle. Simply put, when he faced a danger he couldn't handle himself, he could ask for the help of a powerhouse. After that encounter, whether I recognize Trissy or not, I am definitely on a kill list. There's a high chance that I've been targeted by 008. There won't be any negative effects getting Mr. Azic's help. Well, that's if 008 has been behind all the coincidences. Klein raised the cold ancient copper whistle and put it in his mouth, blowing on it. Without a sound, he activated his spirit vision and saw the white bones that gushed out from the ground like a fountain. He saw the nearly 4-meter-tall giant messenger taking form. It lowered its head and looked at him with his eye sockets burning with black flames. That huge body gave Klein a sense of security. He took out the pen and paper he carried with him and wrote a word: help. Next, he folded the paper and stuffed it into the messenger's hanging palm. After the messenger had disappeared, he put away the copper whistle, deliberately put on a prayer posture, and quickly chanted the honorific name of the fool. Honorable Mr. Fool, my investigations have borne fruit. The woman Prince Edisac fell in love with is witch Trissy from the Demoness sect. She has already advanced to Demoness of Pleasure, and the upper echelons have changed her name to Trissy Cheek. After quickly making the report, Klein didn't bother to hide his identity and immediately took 4 steps counterclockwise to head above the gray fog. Then he retrieved the scenes of him praying, and he threw it into the crimson star, symbolizing misjustice. He tried his best to feign a mocking tone and added in a supercilious manner that was congruent with the style of the fool, Cheek, hee, that's the true name of the primordial demoness. After doing all this, Klein immediately returned to the real world, ready to run for his life. He had only taken a few steps when his eyes suddenly lit up. He subconsciously raised his head and saw several meteors burning with raging flames falling from the sky, tearing through the sky and enveloping the entire forest. At that moment, the scarlet light shone into Klein's eyes, giving him an indomitable feeling. He had never expected that the person he was up against would send meteorites from the sky to silence him. On a yellowing notebook, a seemingly ordinary quill wrote, "For unknown, inexplicable reasons, the Dalesk meteor shower arrived at the planet 2 days early. A portion of them just happened to land in the forest where Detective Sherlock Moriarty was hiding. Yes, just happened. Tuesday afternoon, in Audrey's study. The teenage girl, who was about to reach adulthood, was listening intently as Mrs. Escalante explained the connection between the intersection of spectator and telepathist powers with mysticism psychology. Beside her feet, Susie was sitting there attentively. Suddenly, she saw the endless gray fog and a blurry figure in a prayer position in what appeared to be a forest. Soon after, the words reached her ears. Prince Edisac, the Demoness sect, Witch Trissy, Demoness of Pleasure, Trissy Cheek. Audrey automatically filtered out the irrelevant details and noticed the most important words. So that's the reason. The person Edisac fell in love with is a demoness. Furthermore, many of the demonesses are transformed men. Why do I feel like laughing? Is this why he will bring danger to Backland? Well, I have to warn Father. But what method or excuse should I use? Audrey tried her hardest to control her expression and gaze, but her mind wandered. At this moment, she saw Mr. Fool leisurely sitting at the end of the long bronze table. She heard him say in a gentle tone with a hint of ridicule in his voice, "Cheek, hee, That's the true name of the primordial demoness. The true name of the primordial demoness. The primordial demoness. As her mind buzzed, Audrey's expression instantly collapsed. What's wrong? As an observant telepathist, Escalante immediately noticed that something was wrong with Miss Audrey. Audrey thought for a moment and didn't hide her concern as she said, "Ms. Escalante, I just remembered something bad. I should have told my parents before, but I forgot. It will lead to terrible and serious consequences. For example, the destruction of Backland. How few of the millions of people who live here, regardless of them being nobles, the middle class, or the poor, will survive." Audrey pursed her lips. Her concern couldn't be hidden in her sparkling, emerald-like eyes. Escalante frowned and said, "Will it be too late to do it now?" "It's better than not doing so. Ms. Escalante, please wait for me. No, you should leave first." Audrey entered her spectator state and calmly made her decision. Then she got up and left the study and went into the hallway. "Father has gone to the House of Lords, only Mother is at home, but what should I say?" Audrey frowned slightly. She didn't slow down, nor did she increase her pace. Next to her were her personal maid and her huge dog, Susie. Gradually, she had an idea. When she arrived at the living room where her mother was, she had already made up her mind. Taking a light breath, Audrey felt an unusual sinking sensation on her shoulders. Then, without hesitation, she knocked on the door.